Piro314 is extremely confused, and he's done a video called About What Theory Is. Put this in your pocket for later. A theory is an inductive leap taken on the base of evidence to explain a body of facts. Now, by inductive leap, I mean you've got a body of evidence, and you take a conclusion further than any of the evidence will give you to conclude. The induction is correct, perhaps, but induction means to go, for example, to make a conclusion about all men in all places everywhere, even though you haven't seen all men in all places everywhere. Okay? Like you say, all men are mortal. You're talking about the men in the past, all the men in the future, all the men alive today. So that's a massive inductive leap to say everything at all times submits to this generalization. A theory is an inductive generalization based on evidence. For example, Copernicus, through many different observations, came to the conclusion that all of these bits of evidence have one thing in common, that the sun must be standing still. That was an inductive leap. He was talking about the planets people had seen moving across the sky for ages and ages and ages. And all of their observations, many of which proved that the sun was moving around us. And he says, no, even that proves that the sun is standing still. That's an inductive leap on a grand scale about all the evidence ever. He couldn't even get in a spaceship and go and glance at the solar system and see if he was right. No, he had to just go on mathematical calculations from the movement of dots of light in the sky. And he made an inductive leap, as did Isaac Newton, when he said the similarity between all these bodies of knowledge about how the moon moves around the earth, how the earth moves around the sun, and how the planets might interact each other when they get close to each other and so on. All of these things have one thing in common, and it is the acceleration due to gravity. So he took, without even studying sufficiently, he did not study all the other stars in the galaxy. He didn't even study all the planets. He didn't have any evidence on the existence of Pluto or Neptune, or I know Pluto's not a planet. But he made an inductive leap based on a body of evidence that goes beyond what the evidence says. Induction is simply something that humans can do, or you can't, maybe. If you make an incorrect inductive leap, like, for example, you've never seen anyone except the people in your apartment, now they take you out on the street and you see a man in blue pants. And now you say, oh my goodness, what is an adult? Because I've never seen blue pants on any of the adults in my house. So does this confuse your idea of what an adult is? Maybe for a 3-year-old, but what he'll do is he'll just reorganize that category and say, oh, that's a possibility too. You let the category grow a little bit based on observations. Now, an adult who says, this is a college professor, maybe Piro, Professor Anton would do this, they would see somebody wearing pants that they had never seen before, aluminum chain link pants. Sure. Now that would confuse this college professor. Okay? He wouldn't say, oh, those are weird pants, that's a new possibility. What he would say is, do I know anything at all about this human? Because look, there's one little concrete that's different. And the entire human, therefore, could be different. He might not walk and talk the same, he might not use reason the same way, because of one little teeny observation. Well, an inductive leap allows you to avoid that kind of nonsense, where you just say, well, I've never seen these particular concretes before, but what I'm going to do is bring my past assumptions about human beings and project them on this guy. Even though I haven't tested this guy, I'm going to project and assume, with my inductive leap of brilliance, that he walks and talks the same general way as humans, he thinks, he uses rationality, and so on. So you use induction every single day. It's simply making an assumption about something that you haven't tested based on evidence from the past. Now, either you can make inductive leaps or you can't. But that's what a theory is, and big, huge inductive leaps, like the theory of gravity or the theory of evolution, are simply a larger scale case of saying I don't need to test every man everywhere all the time, or every planet everywhere all the time. I'm going to set down a law. There is such a thing as gravity or evolution or whatever it is. So back to Pirro, who was very confused. Hopefully that'll straighten him out on it. Oh, so he says you need unproved assertions in order to use reason at 1 minute and 53 seconds or something like that. You need unproved assertions in order to reason at all. Now, all the stuff I just gave, he'll just throw it out and say, yeah, but your definitions are arbitrary. Why do you choose to accept the evidence and stuff? He says that even if we use our senses as the base of theoretical reasoning, that has to be assumed as well. Now, there's no way around that. He's just spouting Immanuel Kant right there. He says our senses are not a connection to reality. Because we see, therefore we do not know what we see. It's a ridiculous argument that Kant gave, and he didn't have any evidence for it. I'll want you to note that. Kant had no evidence that we cannot gain any evidence about reality. He had no evidence for it. But Pirro just accepts it and goes forward as if that's grand stuff. Now, you don't need unproved assertions in order to use reason. What you do need is proof. And the proof comes in through the five senses. This is objective reality that your body is telling you about. There is a world out there, and you have access to it. Okay? That is not an assumption. I can actually tell it right now. I can see it. So you don't have to prove sensory data. Sensory data is what proof starts at. But it cannot be proven. It simply is. I have sense data coming in. Do you understand me, Pirro? No, I know you don't. Okay, at the end of the video he says the most ridiculous thing. That being theoretical releases you from a need to have a metaphysics. Okay, this is the mistake that people make with quantum mechanics and lots of other theories. They think that the scientists go into the laboratory with no assumptions whatsoever and are therefore able to prove anything about reality without assumptions in their pocket. That's wrong, because here's what happens if they go in there saying, I know nothing about anything and logic is all up for bat, and who knows if logic's true or not. If they go in there with that attitude, who knows what they're going to find out in there, because they're going to observe some event and they're going to say, it's not possible for us to know what caused this. And you're going to say, now wait a minute, you're supposed to go in there and work on cause and effect. That's what scientists do. Yes, well, we found a category where you cannot find out the cause. What's your evidence for that? Well, look at the maths here. Look, you cannot say that cause doesn't happen when there's an event. That's what they hold, is that atomic decay is random and causeless. Now, some people say that in the future they're going to figure out the cause, but there is a massive school that has taken that as the concrete basic reality, that we can never know the cause. So that's what you get when you go like Pirro, without metaphysics in your pocket. Now, your metaphysics should be in your pocket. You should say, reality makes sense. I just have to do tests and figure it out. It's going to be a difficult go. And I have access to that reality. That should be in your pocket as metaphysics. When they leave that out, that reality makes sense and I have access to it, they come back and they say, well, for one thing, we don't think we have access to reality, but our statistics imply that. And then the other assumption, that I can make sense of reality, our statistics imply that we can never make sense of this. It's easy as pie to understand what a theory is. A theory is making a statement about everything forever based on some body of evidence. And it shouldn't be that difficult. The thing is, if you try to come up with a definition of theory that allows for string theory, or if you try to do anything with Karl Popper, that's going to get you confused on what a theory is. We all work with theories every day. Every time you come to a door you've never seen made out of different material, your first time in a big city and there's a door made of glass, you can make an inductive leap that this door is just like all other doors in some essential respect. There is some way to open it. Hopefully you can do that. If not, you're probably like Professor Anton or Pirro.